Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about the new M. Night Shyamalan film, which is entitled Trap. This is a film where, once again, I'm usually pretty good about avoiding spoilers. This is going to be a spoiler free review. So if you have not seen the film yet, do not worry. I am going to try to do my best to put things in context without putting any spoilers in here. But basically, what the main film is about is this man with this really dangerous past, played by Josh Hartnett. He's taking his daughter to this concert of this singer that she really likes. Her name is Lady Raven, who is actually played by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter in real life. And while they're there at the concert, there's some things that are kind of off kilter about it. He notices this is Josh Hartnett's character. He notices that there's a lot of police there, a lot of security guards. Almost every exit is blocked by some kind of security, and so he's able to eventually get information out of one of the vendors there that's selling T-shirts. That this whole concert is a trap to capture a person that's basically on America's Most Wanted for criminals, and they had records and reason to believe that that person had bought a ticket to go to this concert. There's information on credit cards and stuff like that, and so basically, because Josh Hartnett does have such a dangerous past, obviously this puts him in a very like tense scenario where obviously they're checking IDs, they want to check identities and background checks and all this other stuff, and so this puts him in a very weird position where he's probably not going to be able to leave this concert without some type of scenario breaking out or some type of situation occurring that's going to put him on the spot and make him look bad in front of his daughter and things like that. So over the course of this film, Josh Hartnett's character has to figure out what are the exits, who has access to certain doors, how can he get an employee pass to, go to rooftops and go to areas where customers wouldn't normally be welcome in, and so he has to figure this out over the course of Trap. But overall, guys, I enjoyed this film quite a bit. There's obviously a lot of things I'm going to bring up in my negatives that keep it from being like a M. Night Shyamalan classic or anything like that. But for the most part, it's a fun movie. I enjoyed watching it. It was entertaining. It never felt slow. There's just a lot of things about it that are really admirable. I'm obviously going to go over those in my positives and negatives. But for the most part, it was a fun experience. So I do want to talk about some things that I enjoyed about the film, as well as some things that prevent it from becoming a Shyamalan classic. First and foremost, guys, Josh Hartnett's character is a lot of fun here. I think his name is Cooper. Very fun character, very fun performance. Because there is a lot of things about him that is creepy and dark, and he has this background that clearly identifies a not very good person. There's a lot of things that Josh Hartnett has to balance while also kind of making us care about what happens to him over the course of this film. I think even Josh Hartnett admitted in interviews too that he had the stalker years ago that he kind of based his character around based off how that person interacted with people and how off kilter they were and things like that. Um, it was a very fun character, very fun performance. I really like what Josh Hartnett brought to this film. I thought it was very good, and I thought he was very much a important, great piece of the puzzle to resolve what basically made a great film overall. And overall, I really like this concept and story setup. I think it's a fun concept to go to a concert, you find out about the scenario that basically could put you a lot of trouble if you interact or do the wrong things at the concert. I thought the overall story setup was very well done. Whether it's Josh Hartnett and the daughter finding their seats or meeting up with people that they happen to know outside of things that happened before this concert started. Just the way the story was set up, the way the concept was laid out overall, I'm sure whatever pitch that M. Night Shyamalan did to the studio to get this movie funded was a very good one. Just an overall, great idea for a film, great story setup, great way to get things started, and I just had a lot of fun with it overall. M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, I believe her name is Salika Shyamalan. Her performance was very good here as Lady Raven. She also created her own music for the movie, so I thought that was very impressive. And it's pretty good music overall. Obviously, we see her from the concert's point of view and things like that. Very fun performance. I don't know if I necessarily need to see her in all of Shyamalan's films moving forward, but she did a great job here. You can tell that she gave her probably her best possible performance that her dad wanted her to do for the movie. And I thought the music that she provided for the film was also a lot of fun. And there's also a lot of things she gets to do in the third act that really allows her character to shine and bring out her best qualities as an actress if she decides to act in further projects. So just a really fun performance, great use of music that she created for the film, and I was just overall pretty impressed with her overall. And I also like the overall crowded concert setting. It adds a lot of things to the film. The way that security people are, pulling people to the side and thinking that they've found the person they're looking for and things like that. The overall crowded concert setting I thought was very effective. It did add a lot of tension when there is a lot of scenarios where you think Josh Hartnett's going to get in trouble and potentially go to jail and stuff like that. So the overall setting that they had for this film was very effective for me, and just once again a lot of fun. And like I mentioned before, there is a lot of really tense moments in this movie, specifically as we get to the third act, and you really are kind of trying to figure out where things are going to go and how Lady Raven still remains relevant to the plot and stuff like that. Just overall, pretty intense moments towards the third act, and I felt kind of on the edge of my seat on certain moments just because I was trying to figure out where exactly this film was going to go by certain times. And there's overall some intentional awkwardness, specifically with Josh Hartnett's character and his daughter, that really kind of add a lot of fun to the movie, just because they are very much a fish out of water in this environment with Josh Hartnett and his dark background, and his daughter and some things that he shares with people that kind of allow her to do things at the concert that other people in attendance are not going to be able to do and things like that. So just some overall intentional awkwardness that kind of works in the film's favor. Once again, just a lot of fun to watch. But for my negatives of Trap and why I wouldn't consider this a Shyamalan classic, but I overall recommend the movie overall, there is some major logic issues in this movie. Almost at every corner of this movie, whether it's Josh Hartnett looking around at exits or looking around at escapes of the concert, or whether it's how he escapes certain scenarios, or how he's able to get around certain places at this concert without getting caught, or people wanting him to check his ID and stuff like that. There's logic issues at almost every corner. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm trying to keep this as spoiler free as I can, but there is a scene involving a car that clearly Josh Hartnett is in, and how he got out of this scenario. When you see the movie, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. How he got out of there without anybody noticing he got out of that car is it's mind blowing to me. I don't know what happened in the script department to allow that to happen, but there are some major logic issues in this film that is, I think, going to either make or break your experience with it. You do kind of really have to suspend disbelief in order to enjoy this film, but because, like I said, there is a lot of logic issues in this film. And I think moving forward for me personally, because I know Shyamalan had this in his previous film, Knock at the Cabin, which came out last year, I believe. I do think he needs a co-writer moving forward. He had one with that film. Obviously, it was an adaptation of a book for that movie as well. So he had a good story to work with, from the beginning. But I do think he does need a co-writer moving forward. I think that's going to help with his dialogue. I think that's going to help with the humor. I think there's just a lot of things that happens in his stories, and it's consistently happening with more of his projects where I think he needs someone to be like, okay, that joke doesn't work, or that dialogue feels funny, or that dialogue feels like something that doesn't come out of a real person's mouth. I do think he needs that person to kind of back check him and kind of look at things overall before the project begins and things like that. Because I've noticed here specifically when he's writing by himself for a movie, there's just a lot of times where the dialogue, the humor, the logic, a lot of that stuff gets thrown out the window. A lot of it just does not stick. So I do think moving forward, he does need a co-writer to just kind of make sure that everything's working great, the script looks fine, the dialogue's not too weird, the humor isn't terrible and stuff like that. So I do think moving forward, he does need a co-writer. I think that's, after seeing how Knock at the Cabin turned out and how this turned out, and how Knock at the Cabin turned out better than this movie, I think it's a for sure sign that that's what he needs to do moving forward. There's also an attempt at a twist and reveal in the third act. Once again, won't spoil it here. And it just didn't feel very impactful. I was with a group of friends watching this film, and we all said at the end, Shyamalan is so well known for twist endings and stuff like that. if this film was trying to do that, it just felt very unimpactful. And maybe that's just because he tried to put a lot of his twists at the beginning. So by the time we get to the third act, it's just a matter of guessing where the story is going to go at that point. So I don't know if it was just a very unimpactful third act, but whatever kind of twist or reveal he was trying to aim for at the end of this film really had not a lot of impact on me and overall kind of hurt the experience of the film for me a little bit. And overall, too, there's just some characters that are really pointless and have no follow up whatsoever. One I can safely share with you without spoiling the film is there's a mother and her daughter that go to the same school as, or are associated with the same school that Josh Hartnett's daughter goes to, and he bumps into her quite a bit at this concert, and literally all they do is they set up a joke that's used when Shyamalan or well, I guess yeah, Shyamalan's daughter and the daughter of Josh Hartnett are doing something on stage. It's literally just like a one-time joke, and you never see these characters again. And there's just a lot of characters that are like that. It's just that they show up for a little bit. They're there to show some information and explain kind of how certain employees know about certain things at the concert and stuff like that. They show up for a little bit, and then they just have nothing to do for the rest of the movie. So I thought that aspect of the story was a little disappointing too. And overall, a friend of mine pointed out this while we were watching this film. Some of the police characters are absolute idiots in this film. I mean, they have enough information where you think they would put the pieces together that this Josh Hartnett's character is doing weird things and distracting people from certain things, and he fits the description that they're looking for and all this other stuff. And a lot of them are just super incompetent. It's just one of those things where the script writes them stupid so that the script can work overall better. And it's like I said, you really have to suspend your disbelief going into this film. The more you do it, the more you'll enjoy it. If you are one of those people where every point of the movie has to be realistic, I don't know if you're going to enjoy this film as much as other people will. But overall, I'm going to give Trap an 8 out of 10. I think it's an enjoyable film. There's certainly things about it that are great. Specifically, Josh Hartnett's performance is really good in this. The crowded concert setting was obviously really good, and the concept going for this film is also very strong. But there's just a lot of negatives along the way that keep this from being a terrific film. And like I said, I don't know if I don't think this is going to be a Shyamalan classic for me or anything, but overall enjoyed the film. But do go in knowing that there is a lot of major logic issues, and that really is going to depend on if you're going to like that or not like that. Because if you really do base it off logic the whole time, I think you're really not going to enjoy this film as much as other people will. So, 8 out of 10 for me. It's a good enough film where I could recommend you seeing it. But like I said, do go in knowing that there is logic issues at almost every corner. And like I said, that's either going to make or break your experience with this one. So, 8 out of 10 for me. I like it. But do go in that knowing that there's logic issues.